There's a particular kind of product announcement that reveals as much about a manufacturer's strategy as it does about the vehicle itself, and Chery's release of official images for the Tiggo 7L on March 2 falls squarely into that category. On the surface, this is a compact SUV reveal for the Chinese domestic market. Look a little closer, and it's a window into how one of China's most globally ambitious manufacturers is thinking about product development, market segmentation, and the increasingly blurred line between vehicles built for home and those built for export. The context matters here before getting into what the car actually looks like. The Tiggo 7L isn't a completely new product born from scratch specifically for the Chinese market. International audiences already know this vehicle in a different form. It's the Omoda C7, a model that has been establishing itself in overseas markets, including Russia, and one that represents Chery's push into the kind of globally competitive compact SUV territory that increasingly defines both domestic and export success for Chinese manufacturers. Bringing a locally adapted version home with design revisions tailored specifically to domestic tastes is a strategy that reflects a broader shift in how Chinese automakers operate. Rather than developing separate products for different markets and carrying the full cost of that duplication, the approach builds global platforms and then refines the surface details, the design language, the feature emphasis, the visual identity, to suit specific audiences. It's efficient, it's increasingly sophisticated, and it's working. The existing Tiggo 7 family in China already spans meaningful ground. 4 variants currently cover the range: the Tiggo 7 Plus, Tiggo 7 High Performance Edition, Tiggo 7 Premium Edition, and the Tiggo 7 CDM with its plug-in hybrid system, priced between 74,900 and 142,900 yuan, which translates to roughly 10,900 US dollars to 20,800 US dollars. That's a reasonably broad spread for a single model family, and it reflects Chery's strategy of creating genuine differentiation within a nameplate rather than simply offering the same vehicle at different trim levels. The Tiggo 7L adds another layer to that structure, and the L suffix in the naming convention is the detail worth paying attention to, because in Chinese automotive nomenclature, it traditionally signals a longer or more spacious interpretation of the base model. If that convention holds here, and there's every reason to expect it will, the Tiggo 7L likely surpasses the existing Tiggo 7 variants in overall length, wheelbase, or both. For reference, the Tiggo 7 Premium Edition currently measures 4,500 mm in length on a 2,670 mm wheelbase, while the High Performance Edition stretches to 4,545 mm with a 2,672 mm wheelbase. A Tiggo 7L that genuinely exceeds those figures would translate directly into enhanced rear passenger space and potentially greater cargo capacity, attributes that resonate strongly with the family-oriented buyers who represent a significant portion of the domestic compact SUV market. Chinese consumers shopping in this segment frequently prioritize rear seat comfort in ways that differ from European or American buyers, and a longer wheelbase serves that priority directly and concretely, rather than simply as a specification talking point. The design revealed in the official images is where the Tiggo 7L makes its most immediate statement, and Chery has clearly been paying attention to what resonates with domestic buyers in the current competitive landscape. The front end is dominated by a large V-shaped grille that commands the fascia with genuine presence. This isn't a subtle, restrained design choice, but a confident, assertive one that communicates visual authority before you've had a chance to think about anything else. The Chery emblem sits prominently at the center of the grille, which flows seamlessly into a pair of slender, horizontally oriented headlamps on either side. The combination creates a sharp, contemporary expression that feels deliberate and coherent rather than assembled from trend references. The expansive surface area, combined with 3 additional air inlets, 2 positioned laterally and 1 sitting lower on the bumper, is an interesting detail that tells you something about the powertrain before any official specification has been confirmed. That configuration of multiple functional air openings typically signals a conventional internal combustion engine that requires meaningful cooling airflow, and it strongly suggests the Tiggo 7L will launch as a gasoline-powered model, rather than going straight to electrification. That's not surprising given the CDM hybrid's existing presence in the lineup, which covers the electrified segment of the Tiggo 7 family. A gasoline launch for the L makes strategic sense, with hybrid or PHEV derivatives potentially following once the base model has established itself, a sequence that Chery has used effectively with other products in the range. Moving along the side, the proportions are consistent with what contemporary compact SUV buyers in China currently expect and respond to. A floating roof design adds visual lightness to the upper body, achieved through blacked-out pillars that create contrast against the primary body color, in a way that's become effectively standard in the segment but continues to work well when executed properly. Semi-concealed door handles maintain a clean side profile while contributing marginally to aerodynamic efficiency, another detail that's become widespread but that the Tiggo 7L deploys as part of a coherent overall approach rather than as an isolated feature. Chrome trim outlines the window frames, introducing an upscale accent that reflects the model's positioning at the more premium end of the accessible compact SUV bracket. The shoulder line runs cleanly from front to rear without unnecessary interruption, reinforcing structural cohesion and giving the vehicle a composed, settled stance that photographs well and reads even better in person.
The wheel arch contours are pronounced enough to communicate presence and mild ruggedness without tipping into the kind of exaggerated cladding that can make some compact SUVs look like they're trying too hard. Official wheel specifications haven't been disclosed yet, but the design language around the arches clearly anticipates alloy wheels of substantial diameter. Anything that looked genuinely small here would undermine the visual balance significantly, and Chery's recent product history suggests they understand that relationship well enough to get it right. The rear end continues the contemporary theme, with taillights that incorporate an embedded lighting design, creating a distinctive signature that works well for both nighttime visibility and daytime brand recognition. A high-mounted brake light integrated into the roof spoiler adds a sporty detail without compromising the cleaner upper body lines. And lower down, red reflectors and a mesh pattern bumper treatment provide visual depth while nodding subtly toward performance-oriented cues. The overall rear impression is of a design that has been resolved rather than simply completed. Everything feels considered rather than defaulted to, which is a distinction that matters in a segment where a large number of competitors are using the same broad design vocabulary, and differentiation comes from execution quality. Interior images haven't been released yet, which leaves a significant portion of the ownership picture unclear. In China's current compact SUV market, interior technology has become one of the most decisive competitive battlegrounds. Buyers expect large digital displays, advanced connectivity, sophisticated driver assistance systems, and the kind of software-driven user experience that Chinese EV manufacturers have pushed firmly into mainstream expectations. The expectation for the Tiggo 7L's cabin points toward a digital instrument cluster and a large central touchscreen as baseline equipment, both of which are now effectively mandatory for competitive credibility in this segment. How Chery populates the rest of the interior, the material quality, the ergonomic decisions, the feature list at different price points, will significantly influence where the Tiggo 7L ultimately lands in buyers' consideration sets. The competitive environment the Tiggo 7L is entering is genuinely intense. Domestic brands, joint venture manufacturers, and the newer wave of technology-first Chinese EV companies are all competing aggressively in the compact SUV space, with products that combine increasingly impressive specifications with pricing that has pushed the value expectations of the entire segment to a level that wasn't imaginable a few years ago. Differentiation through design is necessary but insufficient on its own. The Tiggo 7L's exterior clearly delivers on that front, but the complete ownership proposition depends on whether the interior technology, the powertrain refinement, the safety suite, and the pricing structure come together in a way that gives buyers a compelling reason to choose it over alternatives that have had longer to establish themselves in the market.
From a brand architecture perspective, the Tiggo 7L reinforces Chery's emphasis on scalable platforms and the kind of modular design approach that allows relatively rapid deployment of updated styling across variants without carrying the full development cost of a completely new vehicle each time. It's an approach that makes commercial sense in a market moving as quickly as China's, where development cycles need to stay compressed to remain relevant, and where the ability to respond to consumer feedback through product updates has become a genuine competitive differentiator. The Omada C7's international development investment essentially provides the foundation that the Tiggo 7L builds on domestically, which is efficient in the best sense of the word. Pricing details will be the most important confirmation still outstanding, and how Chery positions the Tiggo 7L within or adjacent to the existing range will determine its role in the lineup more than any design or specification decision. A placement that bridges cleanly between the existing Tiggo 7 family and the larger Tiggo 8 series would make strategic sense, capturing buyers who want more than the current range's top models offer without requiring them to step up to a different vehicle class entirely. The official images have made the visual case clearly enough. The technical disclosures to come will determine whether the complete package justifies the anticipation.